It's a lot of like running around and hurrying up, and then you get your offer accepted, and then it's like
Hurry
the
up
next
and wait.
morning. Then the next morning, it's like, okay, so now what?
First thing, you are under contract, your offer gets accepted.
So this episode, we're going to talk a little bit about the things that you should know, and it's really like 4 main things.
You get to walk from contract, they have to release the deposit back to you, and then you start all over. We are talking about, so last week we talked about you bought your house, now what? But this week is you got your offer accepted, you are under contract. What happens now? So This is where we kind of start fading into the background a little bit. And then you get to know the lender and the underwriter really, really, really well.
Yes.
So we are here in case of there's something happening or some, put it this way, the less you hear from us, the better.
Yes.
If you're hearing from us too much, it usually means something is wrong.
Well, I will also say that if you are inspecting, then you will hear a lot more from us right away. And we are going to get you instructions for deposit and that kind of thing. But we're going to go through a little bit. I think that there's it's a lot of like running around and hurrying up, and then you get your offer accepted, and then it's like
Hurry up and wait.
And then the next morning, it's like, okay, so now what?
Yeah.
So this episode, we're going to talk a little bit about the things that you should know, and it's really like 4 main things. And Jen also is going to do the heavy lifting on this, because I'm sure you guys are bored to tears with these past few episodes, me talking about economics and the capital of Morocco. Can I say?
I'll also say that.
By the way, I just want I want to say something. My ADD is raging today, but that's not what I want to say.
Oh my God, that's usually me.
I know, but my neighbors and I, we went and we won a Quizzo, a Quizzo trivia.
Was one of the questions, what's the capital of Morocco?
No, but I was really hoping it was. But no, it was funny. There was a round where they gave you the outlines of countries but like they didn't say what it was.
I'm sure so many people got it wrong.
No, and I'm like sitting there, and I was the one who was writing down the answers, and like I saw it, I like wrote it down, and then I'm like, I don't know, I got sidetracked. I think I was like on my phone, and they're all, I look across the table, and they're all like, oh, I think it's this, I think it's that. It's like, guys,
just give it to me.
It's Spain. Like, no, it's not. I'm like, it's Spain. I was like, but I wasn't good at the music. I wasn't good at the movies. Or no, I was good at the movies, no good at the music. And then all like the pop trivia, like, do you remember what the name of the magazine was in A Devil Wears Prada? Did you ever see that?
Oh my gosh. Yes. Runway.
It was Runway, but everyone was like, it's Vogue.
It's Runway.
And my wife was like, no fucking way is it Vogue? But it was supposed to be based on that.
Yes.
And it was Runway. So there you go. So you got fun facts. I had no idea.
I love that movie. It's a great movie.
Yeah, it is. It's a good movie. So anyway,
you're under contract now.
Yeah, you're under contract.
What I was going to say is
you get a year-long subscription to Runway magazine. As a
is
gift. Yeah. No, let's go.
Disclaimer. A lot of this is specific to Pennsylvania real estate law.
Yes.
I will talk in some timelines of things, again, specifying that is to Pennsylvania real estate law, and it is different state by state. So first thing, you are under contract, your offer gets accepted. Very first thing that is due is your deposit. This is due, and hopefully you know this before you go under contract. So in your agreement of sale, you are putting in the offer price. You're also putting in a deposit amount. Let's just say it's $10,000. That $10,000 is due in Pennsylvania unless you make any changes, within 5 days of going under contract. So your offer gets accepted on Monday. On Tuesday, that is your first day of your 5 days. You have to get that to the listing broker's office if they're the ones holding it. Could be a title company, could be your office. That's what you decide when you're going under contract. But you have at most 5 days to get that deposit in. So that $10,000 will go towards your closing costs as well. So you need to be able to have that readily available and make sure that when you're putting out your offer that you know what your deposit is, because then the next day you want to get on getting that. So you'll hear from your agent, and we will tell you either if you want to do a wire deposit, so you can wire it to the listing broker's office and we'll get you the wire instructions, or you can get a certified check. Rarely are personal checks accepted or
they can
preferred.
Be if it's over 30 days. Escrow laws allow for over 30 days you can do a personal check, but generally we like to do wires or cashier's checks just because it just makes everything a little bit more seamless, because then you don't have to wait for things to clear. which then allow for other mechanisms in the agreement of sale to take place. But keep in mind, this is a question I get all the time. I just want to say about these escrow monies. This money goes back to you at settlement. So basically what you're doing is you're just kind of prepaying your closing costs, because when you go to settlement, the listing agent is going to bring that $10,000 to settlement and it will go directly towards your closing costs. So you're going to bring closing costs less whatever you put into escrow deposit.
I've just also heard, though, like a couple of times of, I was told that I have plenty of time to get this money together. It's like,
yeah, you should have the liquidity. You should have it readily available because you only get 5 days to get it to escrow. So I actually just ran into this issue and I kind of forgot, and they had plenty of money, but it was all tied up. And it was a really big deposit. By the way, deposits in Pennsylvania are anywhere from 3 to 4%
of the purchase price.
Which, if you're not in Pennsylvania and you're down south or out west, that is going to be like, oh wow, because like I know $1 million properties in South Carolina, like it's $1,000.
Not even that far down, even Delaware. Yeah, even like if you're getting advice from somebody who even lives in like a bordering state, it is just done very differently there than it is here.
Yeah.
So
I like the big deposits in Pennsylvania because it can demonstrate your seriousness about the property. If I was selling $1 million property and somebody was going to put a $500 deposit or $1,000 deposit, I'd be like, okay, a person buying $1 million house, how invested, if they really want to leave the contract, they're going to leave $1,000 with the seller and get out of the contract. Like I want a buyer to be financially and mentally obligated and committed to the property. And that's why I like how Pennsylvania does it. Make sure you have the liquidity available. Okay.
Make sure you have the money available.
Just make sure you got the money. Don't waste our time until you got the money.
You also can't. So point B2, point 1AB, section C of deposits. The reason why you also need to prioritize getting that in sooner than later, and like don't wait until day 5, is you can't really do much until that's in, and there's not much really writing on the contract until it's there. So a lot of listing agents won't let you, if you are getting an inspection, a lot of agents won't let you inspect until they have deposit, because otherwise there's nothing to bind anybody to this agreement other than some signatures.
Yes.
Anything to add?
No, I think we have absolutely beaten this to death. So I think we're ready to move on.
Okay. So then the next thing that is going to happen, we're ordering title. So again, in Pennsylvania, we do a domestic search when you go to do title. So they will be asking for your socials. They can run that. They're also going to be asking you for a bunch of other things, your contact information. Certs are going to be getting ordered through the township and all sorts of things. So that's all the stuff that's happening on the back end there that we're ordering for you. You're going to be going into inspections if you did elect for those. So that's going to be the next chunk of time that's going to be taken out of your contract time. So if you are getting those, that's when you're still talking to us. And again, standard time frame in Pennsylvania, you have 10 days to inspect. Within that time, you schedule your inspection, you get your report, and you write up what's called a BRI. It's your buyer's reply to inspections. And that's when you get to negotiate any repairs, any credits, or a reduction in purchase price, whatever it is you want to do. You have 10 days to do all of that, unless modified otherwise. And then your agent will send that over to the listing agent. They then have a standard 5 days to negotiate those terms and to come to an agreement of what's going to happen. Then those 5 days, then there is what's called a CTA written up, a change in terms agreement, and you guys agree on what they are going to be responsible for, whether it be the repairs or the credit or the purchase price, if anything. And then if you still don't have anything agreed upon within that 5 days, there's 2 more grace period days. And if nothing,
which we don't use unless it's
one time I did.
Extenuating circumstances. I don't like using them.
If you can't get this all figured out in 15
days, then something's very, very wrong. Either parties aren't acting in good faith or there's just way too much to negotiate, and you should consider probably not moving forward.
So within that time, this is your inspection contingency period. So within this time, if you can't come to an agreement, then that is when you put together a TRL. There's so many letters to it.
There's so, yeah.
Termination. Yeah. So that is where you release the contract. And that's when you're permitted to, if you decide to not move forward with the sale because you guys can't come to an agreement after inspections. That's when you submit that. You get to walk from contract. They have to release the deposit back to you, and then you start all over.
By the way, they don't have to release the deposit back to you. That part of that document is to say where the deposit monies go. So you can sometimes split it, or if the buyer just totally flakes on it and wants to terminate and they don't have rights to the deposit, that document will tell you whether it goes to the buyer or the seller. I have not executed except for one, and it was our friend up in Birdsboro. I have not written a termination for an agreement of sale since 2019. Every single person I've gotten under contract has gone either every buyer.
Not. Oh wait, yeah, you were talking about the same one.
Yeah,
in Birdsboro. Right.
Every buyer I've put under contract since 2019. We're talking probably 100 and some. Every single one have gone under contract.
I had to write. Well, I wrote that one in Birdsboro. And
yeah, technically I didn't write it. Yeah, but it is one that we were
you pushed it to me so that you can say I've never done it. Jen did it. No, there's that one. I wrote another one, but it was only for protection of the deposit, just in case. But we still went
here's
through.
Another thing, guys, is that if you let's imagine you inspect, you send over what the BRI, which is the buyer's reply to inspection, and the seller does nothing. It is specified in the agreement of sale. This is Pennsylvania again. We don't know. We're not going to talk about all of them. But if a lack of response, and I think I told you this even 2 weeks ago, a lack of response is a response. It does not require the seller to do anything. And if you let all those days lapse, you forfeit your inspection contingency. So a good agent will be able to talk you through that. Again, if you guys get the 13, 14, 15 days, something's wrong. Even with a septic inspection, as long as you can get that septic inspection done, maybe sometimes you're waiting for like contractors or you're doing something like that, waiting for quotes. But as long as the two parties are communicating, you shouldn't need more than 15 days.
Yeah. So we want to, after we go under contract, typically the next day I'm writing out a next steps email. And it's going to be to get your deposit in first. And then the next, that day, I'm probably talking to you about scheduling inspections and getting it done. The sooner it all gets done and over with, the better. And everybody can just move along and keep going. Yeah.
And just keep in mind, we're going to send this to people who freshly go under contract. We're not trying to scare you. We're going to be every step of the way. And any agent who's you're working with should be, if they're not communicating with you proactively, then you should really insist upon it, because you don't do this all day, every day. You're not supposed to know how to do this. And now that you've entered into a legal contract with another party, it's super important that you just stay on top of all your contingencies. But generally, these are rather formulaic. There's some course corrections that need to take place. But if you got two good agents, everything should be fine. Yep. And this is why you've written 2-3 terminations in your entire career. And I used to write them a little bit more back in 2016, 17, but again, I haven't written one in 4 years. So what's next?
Next one was appraisal. So then the next major thing that's going to happen, and probably the last key thing that happens while you're in a contract.
Well, yeah, but before the appraisal is going to be is you're really going to formally.
Oh, you're gonna become besties.
You're with your lender and their underwriter. You saw that. You saw that meme, the Breaking Bad or the Better Call Saul meme, where it's the underwriter and the buyer, and it's we're done when I say.
Oh yeah,
yeah. Where it's basically the underwriter is running.
That to my friend.
The underwriter is running the show for the lender, so they're going to ask for a lot of documents. The lender is going to,
and then when you send those documents, they're going to ask you for 3 more documents about that document,
and then they're going to ask you for the same document about 2 weeks later. No, so there are basically 3 people in the loan process that you're going to become besties with. You have your loan officers, the person who probably onboarded you in the first place. They're the ones who gave you your pre-approval. The other one is the processor. They're not licensed loan officers. All they do is just process. Mm-hmm. They just take documents and they basically check boxes for then what's called the underwriter, who's the person that nobody really talks to.
They're the ghost people. They're the ones that are behind under tables and hunched over and doing all of the things that make everything happen. But nobody talks to them.
They make or break the transaction, and basically what they do is they check boxes, but it's within the confines of the loan limits and loan requirements. So those are the three people you're going to become besties with. And then after that, you have the appraisal, which is kind of part of that process, but it usually comes about a week or two. Yeah, well, a week or two later, appraisal comes out. Appraiser comes out, gives the fair market value of the property.
We did an episode on that covered appraisals, so feel free to go back to them.
Yeah, feel free to go back to that. And then what's the final piece?
And then the final piece is insurance. So you can't close your loan without having insurance and an insurance policy. So once we get all of these, major contingency periods that have like deadlines on them, your loan officer is also going to tell you that you need to get homeowners insurance. That's when you want to start shopping for that also. And we have talked about this in the last episode. We had an entire episode about it, but getting the right insurance is going to be very important too. That and title insurance, they kind of go together. So then after you get all of those things taken care of and you're asked for a million more documents and then other documents and then your final everything at the end, you're also, again, in Pennsylvania, you're permitted 2 walkthroughs through your contract period. So one can go to the house, do measurements, or, just bring mom and dad in and be like, look what I got. Mm-hmm. You can do it for whatever reason you want. So you get one of those and you get, a second one. You can do whatever you want.
A lot of people use it for measurements.
Yeah. And then your second walkthrough would be your final walkthrough. So you can do what you want with them, but do not use that for anything other than your final walkthrough. So day before settlement or day or morning of, you'll go back to your property, you'll do your walkthrough, make sure it's broom swept, make sure everything is in good condition, everything is there working, that was supposed to be there.
Turn on the heater, the HVAC.
Yep.
Make sure the air conditioner is working, especially in July, August.
Yep. And so that if there are any problems or there was anything left or anything like that, settlement doesn't go through until it's being handed over the way that it's been promised to. So then you do that walkthrough, and then before you know it, you're at settlement. Yeah,
so
I said insurance and then title
Guys,
insurance.
There is a 2% chance that you will ever need your title insurance policy, but it is required for all loans in the state of Pennsylvania. And basically all that is just basically someone going back, verifying the person who's selling the house has rights to sell the house. They don't have any kind of liens against the house. They've paid their taxes, and it basically ensures what's called clear title. So when you get the house, you are locked and loaded and you have a fresh slate to own that house without any hassle.
And I was actually talking to my uncle a couple weeks ago, and he had said when they bought their house, and they bought it off of my aunt's mom, he said that they found out after he had bought it, there was a lien, like a $30,000 lien.
Mechanics lien? Like a contractor?
I don't remember which lien it was, but I was like, the first thing I said, what about your title insurance? I said, because that should have been cleared with title. And if it wasn't, that's the first person you call is the title company to see like, hey, how's this missed? And he said, I may not have known it. It may not have been a regulation back when we bought it like 25 years ago. I was like, but he paid it. And I was like,
oh, yeah. Well, if he bought it cash, he wouldn't have been required to have it.
Well,
you can buy a cash, not have title insurance. It's not like a law, but
it's still good to have.
Still good to have. So yeah. So I think that's a good 20-minute
rundown.
Congratulations. If you're listening to this and you've just bought a house, and do not panic. Congratulations.
We've got you.
We got you. We'll take good care of you.
All right.
All right. See you guys.
Bye.